It's actually my friend's cocktail business. She does it from her kitchen, believe it or not.
It's good. It's good. Really good. Now you need like 2 or 3 side hustles to the main job. Like,
When you say now, it's always been like that though. But we just didn't know.
yeah. Well, then again, I remember when I was growing up, like my dad would go to work and he would come back home like 4 or 5. Like, he'd pick me up from school, come back home 4 or 5. Like, I knew he was, struggling and then doing 2 or 3 things, but it didn't feel like what we experiencing right now. Because, like,
Right now it's tough. I mean, I think growing up, all of us wanted to grow up.
Yes.
You wanted that freedom of, going out and coming back and not being answerable to anyone. You couldn't wait to leave the house. But if I had known that this is what it entailed, I would have just said, you know what, I want to stay like this forever. Honestly.
It's like a whole deal, like a whole thing from. I mean, I was thinking about it when I was coming today that you finish school and everybody's like, oh, most likely to succeed.
Yeah.
And you think that all you need is intelligence.
Yeah.
And then you get to the field of work and you're like, it's not just that. And then you're figuring that out. And then somewhere along the line, you see someone, you're like, oh, I think I like her and I'm going to take someone's daughter and then, be responsible for them. And nobody tells you what that is.
There's no handbook.
There's no handbook. And then you get into it and you're like, okay, I think I can handle this. Then the first kid comes, and like, okay, what the heck is this? And then, okay, I'm getting the hang of the second kid comes.
Yeah.
And then now they have to deal with the politicking at work, career changes, and like, at some point you just zombie through it.
Which brings me to one of the things that keeps, coming to me lately, purpose.
Yeah.
It's like, I've read Purpose Driven Life like 4 times. And for me, it's like, I get it. The purpose is just to be able to cohabitate as people, make sure that you're responsible for your brother, fellowship with your brothers. Really, that's the purpose why we're put on earth, right? But then there's also the other purpose of like living out, something that you are excited about. Like living out a career, for instance.
Yes.
But it changes. Or do people ever even realize their purpose? And if you don't, does that mean that you're a failure? Or what if you have multiple purposes? Like for me, that is where I'm like, okay, make it make sense.
Okay, so if anybody's watching this thinking that I have all the answers.
No, we don't have answers.
Yes. I'm just gonna because I remember growing up and then reading, of course, Purpose Driven Life and reading all those books, and by my mid-20s, I thought I'd figured life out. And I'm about to do it. And then something that American books don't tell you is that there's something called context. That you're reading these books, but you're living in an African context.
Yep.
So then I am working very hard, like taking all these experiences, and then there's no cash coming in. I'm like, what's happening? Where did I get this wrong? So then by the time I edge towards 28, 29, I have like serious depression where I'm like trying to figure out, okay, so why am I here?
Yeah.
What, like...
I thought I got it figured out.
Yes. Like, what is my purpose? And then at that time as well, this forlorn conclusion that you stick to one job and then you find happiness in one job. By the time I was 28, I think I changed jobs like 6 or 7 times.
Change.
Oh, yeah. Oh, me, I don't waste time. Like...
So what would make you change a job? Is it because of, I guess it's because of where you are in life or where your mind is, or is it because the times are changing? I mean, what is it?
So for me, it's very interesting. My first job experience right after uni, I worked for someone who was like a mentor to me. And I was like, okay, I can see myself. I was in advertising. I was an operations and traffic manager. And I was like, okay, I can see myself thriving here. I worked for 9 months. He paid me 1 month out of the 9 months. Yeah.
That's where I also have a problem with. I mean, honestly, like, dude, give me something. I mean, like, pocket money, small pocket money. Let me just
and he
get by.
Feeding me stories about, I see that we're getting clients. I see jobs are coming in. But he's like, oh, they haven't paid. Another thing which happened was that we had to hire people. So I went and me and my Toby mouth, I went to hire 13 people, some of which were my friends, and then I had to fire them 3 months into it. So
You had to fire them because they weren't getting paid, or the company wasn't making money.
The company wasn't making money at some point, so I had to fire them. So he made me hire them. I led the hiring process, and I had to lead the firing process. And all of this, like fresh out of school, like
Charlie.
so after that experience, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I get that you have to pursue something that you're happy with, something in line with your career ambitions or whatever it is. But if I'm not being paid or more, I'm out the door. So I remember even right after that, I had another job opportunity with this acclaimed architect. And I went there the first day, went for a meeting. I'm like, okay, I can see myself, gelling here. Then we closed and we were walking to the bus stop, and I'm with other colleagues. And then there's this white girl who's an intern. And she goes like something, I don't even know how it happened. And she's like, oh, she hasn't been paid for 2 years. I didn't show up the next day.
You left somewhere for 9 months, after 9 months of not being paid. 2 years, the embassy.
Oh, ambassador. Ambassador. I didn't call him. I just I'm like, no. I won't even come and like waste my time to ascertain whether it's true or not. And that's a white person. You know, when Ghanaians are talking, you give it some. But this is a white person who's saying that for 2 years she hasn't been paid. I don't have time for that. So that quickly shaped my my outlook to work. So it was less about, as for competence, I know I'm competent. Once you interview, like I could do the job.
So advertising, architecture. So the thing is, you were just dabbling, right?
Yes,
so you found your purpose. Is it fair to say that?
In a sense, I guess, because one of the best advice I got from a friend was that dabble in your 20s, right? And then refine yourself in your 30s, so that by the time you get to your 40s, you know where you're going.
Right.
But the thing is, when you're dabbling in your 20s, you're looking for, I think, one of the biggest mistakes I made was I went chasing experience and not money. So by the time I was like getting married, I had all this rich experience, and everybody's like, oh my God, you're so wise. Oh my God, you're so good. But I'm like, my account doesn't look like that, And when you get married in Ghana, actually, you're a provider. Fresher. So, and my wife is a finance person, so she's very like, okay, guy, like,
yeah, we need to make some money.
We need to make some money.
I was actually talking to a friend of mine this morning, and I said to him, it's good not to mislead the young people, right? Because everybody wants to obviously pursue your passion. But for instance, if your passion is to become, let's say, an art collector, you want to do liberal arts in school, that is not paying very well now.
No, it's not.
So my thing is, I think I saw it somewhere where the gentleman said, look, you need to go to school at that young age, your first degree or whatever it is. You are wise enough to, your mind is free from all the many responsibilities in the future you're about to face. So learn something that can make you money.
Yes.
Then when you make the money, it becomes your cash cow.
Yes.
And then that is now what is going to enable you to pursue your passion.
Yes.
But a lot of people are like, well, I'm going to uni because I know I'm a good artist and I want to do arts.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But how many arts work can you sell? How many art pieces can you sell right out of college?
Yes.
I mean, it's going to take the grace of God and some miracle, to be in the same level, or a network, to be on the same level as, a seasoned art collector or a seasoned art, a seasoned artist. So it's always good to find something that you can do that will pay the bills.
Yes.
And then through that, you can now learn or pursue your passion. Because if you decide you're going to go through your passion, you might never make money.
Yeah. Or do it whilst you're in school and find a way to monetize it. And I think that's one of the things. When I was in school, I used to do events, and it was a big thing. And I feel like if someone had pushed myself and my friends, we would probably be better off. But we did our first event and we went to so much debt that we scurried off and I went to find jobs.
It discouraged you?
It discouraged us. It really discouraged us. So if you want to do it, try and figure a way where you can do it whilst you are in school, and then figure out how to really monetize it. If you don't figure that out, find a job, and then whilst you're working, do that alongside. Like, I love cooking, and I I would someday, like one of my retirement dreams is to, have my own restaurants and stuff like that. And at some point, another very funny story. At some point, a friend told me, well, let's go to Legon, the whole week. Let's go and sell. So I borrowed money from my wife, her school fees, her master's school fees.
Why are men like this? Okay.
Yeah, you know where the story is going.
Yeah.
So we invested. It was a good 2 days, and I got ambitious and did the whole razzmatazz, tried to expand the business, and it didn't go too well. Lost the money, so I had to now work and then pay it
back.
off.
Of course.
But at least I had a job.
Yes.
That I was working on. So
Yes.
the lesson or the moral of the story is that passion is great, but you need to find a way to monetize your passion. So either you do it alongside a job, or you find a way to monetize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are people who are also unhappy in jobs, right? It becomes like a duty. They're not necessarily enjoying what they're doing, but it's paying the bills, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why. You can relate.
I think for most part of my life, that was it.
But isn't that what causes, because when I was growing up, right, I when you hear of midlife crisis again, you think, okay, somebody in their 40s, 50s, that was, but people are going through midlife crisis quite early.
Yes.
Like you said, 28, 29, you were depressed.
Yes.
Because things were not going as you had planned it.
Yes.
I mean, I went through the period where I also had some plans, but then when it didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, I felt a certain way. I'm like, why am I here? What am I doing? But I was happy working the job I was doing at the time.
Yes.
So it just took my mind off. But if you're not careful, that will also never make you go and pursue your passion.
Yes.
You see?
The tricky thing is that you can actually be in a job doing what you like and still be miserable because of the context. So there's a content and then there's a context. The content is what you do. So for example, I think relatively every job I've done, I was always passionate about it and it aligned with a specific skill set that I had.
Right.
So when I was doing the job, I was happy. But the context in which I was in, the environment, some of my colleagues, the politics in play, the dynamics, the power play, and all of those things, like the environment sometimes was very toxic.
Right.
And some other place I worked in, there was no growth mobility. So
Exactly.
you are there stuck in this.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, like you're good. And I didn't know those things to be a thing, that when you're too good at a job, you don't rise because they want you to stay there.
Stay there.
And, be efficient where you are. But sometimes you need to, I mean, one of the biggest things this year, one of the biggest lessons I've taken this year is the reward for hard work is more work. It's so
true.
So true.
Yeah.
No more money?
No, more work.
More work.
That's true because, let Kweku do it. No, Kweku will finish that. He's very good at organization. Let him do it. No, he finishes his tasks. Let him do it.
Yeah.
So the one that is almost like never present, never works.
Yeah.
But you all get the same money.
Yeah.
You probably
people can politic very well. Like,
Yeah.
You just show up and they look good and stuff. For the longest time, I was always in the shadows, like, just face down, get the job done and stuff. And then people would show up, dress well, and then, talk well and stuff. And they're like, so that's why I was like, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
It's interesting how now the loudest one gets the attention. When we're growing up, we're told that, when you're the more calm and modest you are, that's more, you're being coy, and it's actually ladylike to be coy. But now it's like the loudest one gets the attention first, and then now you can decide that you want to be coy.
Listen. So one of the things I did some time ago, I worked with, one of my specialties is influencer marketing, right? And so for some time, I worked with brands as a liaison with influencers.
Right.
So I find my influencers and I work with influencers. And one of the things which, like, no offense to these people, but some of the influencers I worked with, you will choose them, you give them the product, you give them the brief, you tell them what to do. Sometimes I'll even be on set with them. No, do this, do that. And then when they are done, even write copy for captions for them. Then they will take screenshots of the backend analytics. I will do the report and send it to clients and then defend. And then they take sometimes like tens of thousands, and then you are just chopped.
Yeah.
You know, with some
Your
small
salary.
coins.
Yeah.
I remember one of the last, I was like, influencing there, same year before. I same year before.
You almost do something. Because there's so much money in it.
Because it doesn't make sense. You're doing all the hard work, and then and it's the same thing like for the place of work. Sometimes you need to balance it off and also show your face, because if you consistently show up face down doing the work and nobody knows that you're doing the work, you need to self-advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
no one is going to do it for you. I mean, that's why there's a thin line between, you know, being what's the word, like self-love and gloating.
Yes.
Because, you know, because it's almost like, dude, they must know that I'm here and I can do this.
Yeah.
But because who's going to advertise? Who's going to market you? Nobody else is going to do that.
Yeah.
Now, so midlife crisis. We were talking about it earlier, and I said to you, Charlie, at some point in time, we all go through it.
Yeah.
This thing called adulting is lashing us.
That's a scam.
Now, honestly, is it because of the times we're in that people are actually going through midlife crisis earlier than later? Because, I mean, life begins when? Really? Because, I mean, that's what I was still going at, but I don't know. Does it still begin at 40? Hasn't it changed?
It has. You know, thinking about it, I think social media has really done, you know, damage to us because it's overexposed us.
Yeah.
Earlier than, you know, you meant to. And it's like now, before you just had your friends and your colleagues who you've chosen as your yardstick. But then now there's like an unchosen yardstick out there. And the algorithm is just, you know, feeding you.
Don't you just hate that?
Look, these days I'm so happy that I married the time I got married, because right now weddings are like a whole like you can't get married if you're broke, because like there's a whole like setting anyway. So I think that has really worsened it for us, because when you think about it, you're growing up, everything is based on the power of suggestion. You're at school, they tell you, oh, you're good at this, you're good at singing, or you're good at writing. And it's just simple, singing, writing. Oh, you can do journalism with it, so they link it to something. So in your mind, oh, okay, I can write, so I can be a journalist. Or I can speak well, so I can be a broadcaster. But then you finish university and you get into the field of work and you realize that, okay, before in your caucus or in your ecosystem, it's just you and a few other people. But then you're just flung into this world where you're then competing with others. And then no one is really giving you the benchmark. Okay, what does success look like? What are the expectations like? So then you have to figure that out. So it's like the mental agony of, oh my God, I'm now in a different world. I'm trying to figure myself out. I have to learn the rules. I have to know what the faux pas are, what the good things, like it's all of those things. And I think that because also and then social media bombards you with the seemingly success of others. So
what
then you're like,
look like.
So then you are at, let's say age 28, you're doing fairly well by Ghanaian standards. But then you see some 28-year-old
who's driving a Ferrari and is a billionaire. You're thinking, what have I done with my life?
So you're plunged into this thing and you're like, so really, social media.
So you think that comparison is what actually drives us to think that we are going through, experiencing midlife crisis?
I think so, because even when social media was not there and you think about it, comparison really is what does the damage. Because you meet with friends and then everybody's humble bragging. Oh, you know, I got my promotion. I got this. Oh, I got that. Oh, what did you get? You're like, oh, okay. And everything is like you're trying to top the other, and it's unconscious. It happens. So it's either, oh, I'm married, and all those social like ticks, like you have to get married, and then you have to have a child, and then 2 children. And the school fees.
I think it's even harder on women than it is on men.
It is. I mean, well,
you don't think so? I mean, as a woman, I get that a lot. When are you getting married? You know, when are you getting married? Do and get married, you're getting old. And it's almost like I can't marry myself, really. I mean, like, if it happens, it will happen. I mean, even in the Bible, they were born to lose women. You know what I'm saying? The women that followed Jesus, I didn't hear about anyone getting married or anyone. Do you get what I'm saying? So really and truly, it's, who are we to judge? But by society, if you're not careful, you're going to feel like you failed because, you know, where there's no marriage as a woman, it's like you are exposed. You know?
Sometimes I even feel like society does this thing too. It's like people are living lives of misery, and we want you to come and join us.
Misery loves company, absolutely.
Yeah, because if you think about it, it's like, oh, when I get married, you get married. Oh my God, when are you having your first child? Oh, when is the second child?
You can't win.
No, you can't. You definitely can win.
You know, it's amazing. I have a family member who a couple of years ago came back from the US, and he was really excited to move back, and he was talking about what he was doing in New York and how successful he was, and I was like, oh my, I'm so proud of you. But like he came in December, and the idea was he wasn't going to go back. He was going to stay for about 6 months and then figure himself out and see what he can do with his IT background and all that good stuff. Can I tell you that by January,
Feels out.
he's like, I'm like, what happened? He said, listen, I spoke to my friends, then my mates in school, and half of them, two of them, all of them, in fact, they all have a home and a half, an apartment, a car. Me, my car that I use in New York is rented.
Yes.
I take it back and I rent another one.
Yes.
I don't own an apartment in New York where I live.
Yes.
I have a good job, but at the end of the day, I'm not making what they're making. So I think he felt like he had failed.
Yes.
Even though in comparison, what he's doing in America was actually not bad, and he's doing very well for himself. I mean, he leases the cars, for instance. So, but most of his friends own 2-3 cars, and he's thinking, Charlie, I can't come and compete with this thing. So he went back, and can I tell you, he hasn't been back. He hasn't moved back since. So this thing happened like some 8-10 years ago. He hasn't moved back because he's like, you know what, I'm happy. I'll visit. And I'll go back because I feel like I've been left behind.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing that living and growing up and working in Ghana will do to an average person.
Yeah.
You grow up quickly, you become more ambitious. There are certain things that you take for granted if you lived in the States or you lived abroad. That's here, there's no tax, there's no credit system. Do you understand what I'm saying? So everything you have to
You
pay.
build the house. You will build
And
the
you
house.
pay for it
You
with your
will
hard
pay
cash.
for it hard cash. And in fact, the land, if you're not careful, you buy it twice.
Twice.
Or 3 times.
My dear. And after that, you go to
struggle.
court.
Yes.
And then you fight another person who owns it until you win. My dear.
One of my colleagues who is Nigerian said that in Africa, as Africans, when we wake up in the morning, we are served a platter of struggles. So
Honestly.
you choose which one you can deal with in the day, and then you put the rest aside. And it's like, like in the morning you wake up, okay, struggles, okay, let's see. Roller coaster, okay, I think I'll pick this one.
Yeah.
Because it's...
And that is what actually leads to the whole depression and comparison. We can't help it because it's like thrown at you.
Yeah.
You can't, you're looking at yourself and you're like, all my mates are getting married.
So me too, let me get married.
Me too, let me go and get married. Whether it's good or not, at least I'm married.
At least I'm married.
Whether I'm happy or not, let me just stay there. Because society says that by the time you are in your 30s, you should have married and had 1 or 2 children.
Yeah.
But you are nearing your 40s or you're probably in your 40s and you don't have any kids. You probably are not married. And so you feel like...
We'll do it to you.
Do you want us to go there? Because me, I want to go there. Small.
I mean, I'm a man of faith and everything, but I think that sometimes church has done, because I remember when I got married, it's like the silent nods and the silent innuendos. Oh, so when are we expecting?
Oh.
Like, and I recently realized
The missus is looking a little plump. Is there a bun
she's
that
glowing. Oh my gosh, she's glowing. And then of course those are the nice ones. Then the obvious aunties. Like you are getting too old.
Yes.
Hurry up so I can hold them. Otherwise I can't hold them.
Yeah.
And those same aunties now, when you tell them to babysit, they say that no.
I have a wedding. I have a funeral. I have a party. They are busy.
Those people, recently one of them attempted to say, why don't you have a third? The look I gave her.
She stopped. She had to quickly,
She stopped because she realized that where it's going,
the answer, no.
I would give you everything, like all the virtual is yours. Yeah, but I think, and recently I even realized that I am also part of it because I think it comes from a good place, but sometimes it's not managed properly. Because even myself, like there are a couple friends who are married or recently get married, and I'm like, yeah.
We do it unconsciously. Honestly, I mean, I have done it.
Yes. Yes.
You know, we do it unconsciously.
I'm a victim.
I mean, for instance, I spoke to a friend of, well, a gentleman a few weeks ago, and I said to him, he recognized me, and he said, "You don't remember me?" Oh yeah, those days I was working at so and so place, and I said, "Oh, I think there's a bit of more flesh, But when I went back home, I thought about this, and I was like, Joselyn, what was that? Because if someone told you that, hey, Joselyn, you put on weight, you think, hey, is he saying that?
You go home for 2 days, you're looking in the mirror.
I'm like, but he body shape. How dare he?
I know, right?
But it just came out, and I meant no harm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I had to actually call him and apologize.
Yeah.
And he was like, listen, men, we don't think about these things that people think about. So I'm okay. Like, honestly, when you said this, I was like, hey, I have to start going on my walk. So, but I slept. I didn't think about it. I was like, yeah, but, and again, that's the same thing with even marriages. You see your friend who was married and you're like, hey, so when is the baby coming?
Yeah.
And you're not saying it because you're trying to be mean. You're just saying it because you're just...
Yeah, just wishing them well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, having gone through what I've gone through, my wife and I have gone through, like these days I don't even answer because conception is a thing. Like it's if you're able to conceive naturally and then, give birth and your child hits all their milestones, like it's a blessing.
It's a big deal.
It's a huge blessing because people are going through serious. I mean, like my wife and I we battled with autism twice with our two boys. Yeah, first one is fine. Second one, he is still in the process. I mean, we are hopeful and everything. We're praying everything. But having gone through what we've gone through, I don't.
So the midlife crisis there, you have gone back, you are there, because it's like, but honestly, working all these jobs you're working, going home to deal with an autistic child or two.
Look.
We don't look at what we are going through.
No, we don't.
We thank the Lord.
Hallelujah. We thank the Lord. I mean, last year around this time, like I think I was telling you about it, I was doing like 3 jobs. 3 or more jobs, 2 computers, sometimes 2 meetings at the same time. With a child screaming in the background, like you sleep around to me. Like it was just crazy. And at a point, I just had to stop and go like, you know what? I wasn't buying stuff for myself. I just woke up one day and told my wife, you know what? This is not my life. This is not what I want to be. I don't want to be that guy who is always working and it's like all the money is being poured into like kids and I'm like looking at my kids and sometimes I even resent them because I'm like, what am I doing?
At least you're honest.
Yeah.
You look at your kids and you resent them.
Oh yeah.
I have been through that too.
Yeah. Because it's no one tells you what to expect. No one tells you. Like, I miss them when they are young because you can hold them and cradle them and all that. But then when they start growing and they start speaking and asking you questions, like all of these things, I remember school fees and then
you don't have all the answers because we were also told, it's so weird that we brings me to the idea of these kids now being so curious and at our age, you're not able to even explain to them when they say why. And you're like, because that's how it is. But why? And you're thinking, that's how it is. But why? Listen, I don't know. Please, that's what I was told. So that's what I'm telling you.
Homework, which makes you feel dumb. Like, my son at age 3 or 4 used to bring homework home. And my wife and I look at it like
we sent you to school to go and learn.
Like, is this not math? It's not 1 plus. Like, what is this? Like, what is it? So it's honestly, it's a lot. It's a lot. But I mean, one of the things we found comfort in is 2 things: the fact that we acknowledge that it takes a village.
Yeah.
If you don't have a village, you'll fail at it. So those mamas, and you know who I'm talking to, some of my friends who feel like, I can do it on my own, helicopter mom, parenting. It doesn't exist.
I did it.
Oh, you did it? Oh, okay.
I'm still doing it.
Okay. That's you. But I can't.
Listen, honestly, it takes a village.
It takes a village.
Because I didn't do it alone.
Yeah.
But obviously, it took my mother, my aunt, my grandfather, my granduncles and stuff. Yeah. It's a whole community that sort of comes together to help with even with your mental health.
Yes.
Like you can go crazy.
It takes a village. And then the second thing is that you also need to prioritize yourself at some point. Yeah. Because if you're not mentally well, you cannot parent.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to also prioritize yourself. So like sometimes I do this thing where, and before I used to think that vacation was a luxury. Like you have to work hard. Because my dad never went on vacation. Like, but recently I'm like, no.
We must be intentional about it.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna wake up one day and you're like 90.
Yeah.
You're like, what did I do with my life?
Oh, yeah. They'll go to school.
Okay.
They'll go to school and they'll relocate to a 1-bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah, 1-bedroom where it's just us. And yeah, you come visit, but you can't sleep.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? All the best with all your many jobs. I know you have to jump on a call soon, right?
I do, but thank you. This was fun.
I love it. Come back.
Oh, I will.